Hello, everybody, and welcome back to First Ring Daily. I'm Brad. He's Paul. This is, well, I can't say their names because it'll activate them.
I think you can just say
But
Cortana, right? Nope.
today's show is brought to you by SmartDeploy, Device Driver Magic. That's what they do for IT, isn't it?
Cortana app on your phone or PC.
I know. Look, this is the peril of a live demo.
It is. But we will get to the live demos here in a little bit because, Paul, there's a lot of things talking. But also what's not talking, Paul?
Yeah.
Tell me if you've run into this issue before where your computer changes the default audio upon reboot or upon just...
It literally happened to me this morning. Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah, something starts playing and there's no audio and you're like, what? You know, when you go down to the tray, default playback devices, yep, sure enough, changed. I don't know why.
Yeah. I tweeted this out because, Paul, I don't tweet much, but when I do, I do with serious depth.
You do it drunkenly?
On the back of my yacht. Yeah. So I tweeted it out, and apparently a lot of people have this problem, and a lot of people were saying, well, stop using HDMI cables for your monitor, and that's not really a solution. Because that's apparently what's triggering it, but that's not normal. It shouldn't be changing the default profile. That's the problem.
You saw my photo today of the start menu on my computer, which is, somebody pointed out, it's so beautiful. Like the whole thing is screwed up, except for the ads. The ads are coming through no problem. In fact, they're rotating. But the rest of the start menu is completely screwed. So, you know, priorities.
1709 going well for you there, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, aside from those two things we just talked about, it's fine, you know. Sure.
Yeah, besides the iceberg dead ahead, it's fine.
Yes, right. Turn left right before we get to it. There's no reason to start now. It's an iceberg. It's moving slow. Honestly, it's been less than a week, but I would say the volume of complaints is pretty low on this one, and it's kind of impressive given how fast they seem to be rolling it out too. Like there are a bunch of devices getting it right away that on the previous update were not getting it right away. So it's interesting.
Yeah, which maybe that's, they're getting a little bit more comfortable now. I mean, they should be. They've been doing this about a little over 2 years now. They're getting more comfortable. They're starting to figure it out. This is, hey, if we screwed up, we can fix it on the backside. But yeah, to your point, that's it. What'd you do?
She makes little sounds. It's pulsating.
It does. My wife pointed out she wondered if it giggled when you turn the volume down or up, and I said no, that would be creepy. But
yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but more on that later because we're going to do some demos. We're going to see how this thing performs, and all good stuff. Paul, I don't know if you saw this one. I saw it on a headline, then I figured out what it was. Paul, did you know that Apple makes a Mac Mini?
I know that they used to. Isn't that in the Book of Revelations or something? It seems like it was from a long time ago.
Well, with their steel coconuts, Apple is still selling a Mac Mini that was about 3 years old now. Yeah. It's I think it's not in the Book of Revelations. I think they call this now in the Book of Margins is what this device is, because it surely can't cost them anything to make it, or maybe they just made a whole bunch and let them sit in a warehouse. But a disgruntled or maybe saddened Mac user emailed Tim Cook, because why wouldn't you email the CEO of a $100 billion company and say, hey, where's my Mac Mini? And Tim Cook did what Apple does best and said, hey, this is still an important product to us. We're not ready to talk about details yet, but they are going to release a new one eventually.
That's fantastic. Apple is, for such a humongous company, I just looked this up because Microsoft's market cap just surpassed $600 billion for the first time since the year 2000. And Google's is like 687-ish, I think, if I remember off the top of my head. And Apple's is getting pretty close to 900 billion, right? So they probably have a few employees, I would imagine. And it seems odd to me that they can't seem to focus on more than one or two things at a time. I get the run your company like it's a startup thing that they do, but I don't know. How about putting a startup on each of those products, or release them from time to time. Just a thought. A different way.
Yeah,
of
I
doing
wonder if
things.
they're like having. I wonder if they just don't have enough money in the bank.
Yeah, right. I would like to do two things at once. We can't afford it, so we're going to do iPhone for now, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so they multitask about as good as the iOS does.
Yep.
Yep.
Where do you want to go today?
I keep laughing because when I look into the camera, all I see is this giant red.
I know. How do you make it go red?
Well, you make it angry, Paul.
Are you serious? You can make her angry? Can you say, how come you're not Siri or something?
Jesus. Hey, Cortana. You talk bad about her father, Clippy, and that turns it red. No, but if you press the, what's the mute button?
The mute button.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
What I'd like.
Oh, so this is the no microphone on thing. Oh, I never even tried that. Look at that. It's red.
Yeah, look at that. Like a candle in the wind, Paul.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so in other words, if you're privacy concerned, the red light will indicate that it's not really listening. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
You know. Okay. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's fine.
Yep. Paul, rumor on the street is that you've given up trying to ditch cable.
Yes, that rumor is correct. I've had we've had a really bad time with the cord cutting stuff, like a really bad time. And I would say I'm amused, but I'm not amused. I find it disheartening. Every once in a while, someone will write me and say something like, I use the PlayStation View and it's great. And I don't understand what your problem is. Or I use the Apple TV remote and I think it works fine. My wife does too. You know, it's like, I'm sorry, but these things, I get it. We all have opinions, different experiences, and everything. These things are crap. Like they're all crap. And it's really bad. And I do really believe that someone's going to get it right someday. You definitely are familiar with this notion of an app can looking differently, work differently on different platforms. That kind of stuff is disheartening. Like the Roku is 1,000,000 times better than the Apple TV in so many ways. But the PlayStation View app, for example, on the Roku is terrible, other than the navigation stuff, which is wonderful. And that kind of stuff is aggravating. But I think we live and work in an industry in which, I mean, let's be honest, nothing ever works, like ever, right? We were just talking about that audio problem on Windows 10 or my start menu issue from this morning. This TV streaming stuff is just like this. Like every day you turn something on and you never know what you're going to get. It's like a little box of chocolates, you know? And I that stuff to me is frustrating, and it's like a continual source of frustration. So, when it comes to like the smart home stuff, not that cord cutting is particularly smart or whatever, or related to, smart controls or whatever, but when you think about like personal technology and stuff you use in your home, you can go full bore digital future, blah, 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 whatever. But, sometimes the old stuff just works fine, right? And you can kind of butt if you notice to spite your face, but the truth is cable is less expensive and it just works. So yeah, we're going to get cable, I figured this was a possible outcome. Obviously, it's a little disheartening.
It's a little embarrassing on your end.
Well,
you're supposed to be, you're supposed
in the
to be
scope of
edge,
life's
Paul.
embarrassments, Brad, this is a minor one, but I will say, it's one of the ironies or kind of the funny things about this. If people have been reading my tech makeover stories, I've complained a lot about the stuff in this new house and all of the ports and switches and all the stuff that's all over the house. There are rooms in this house, including the one that I'm sitting in right now, that have 3 coaxial cable ports in the wall somewhere, right? Actually, you can't really see it right now because we're split up, but there's a hole in the wall behind me. That's one of them that the guy pulled out this morning. There's one over there and there's one over there. And if I go in the sunroom, there's 3 of them in there too, right? So when the guy came this morning to put the cable box in, we pulled the TV away from the wall. And guess what isn't in the living room, Brad? A coaxial cable. There is no cable connection in that room, the room where you would watch TV in. So now we had to reschedule because someone's...
The best part about this that not everybody knows, Paul, but by you ripping on your house here, you're actually just ripping on your own heritage at this point, which is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. No, listen, the weakest part of my whole deal is my DNA. There's no doubt about it. I had a really interesting conversation with my father, who was responsible for this stuff, and it is like, you've probably heard this notion that like sons are like, their job is to take away all the stuff their father did, kind of thing. I've never really kind of bought into that, but now that I'm here, I'm going to destroy his legacy. This is like, and by the way, the hole in the wall that's back there, right? What's in there? The reason we don't have, I was going to move the cable modem in here, by the way. So the reason that's still a hole in the wall, because they're going to have to rewire in here, is that, as it turns out, the coaxial situation in this house is just as bad as the rest of the wiring. He found multiple what do you call them? Like the switch boxes in there, so you can splitters. And that, of course, degrades the signal. So there's like a splitter over there. There's two splitters here. One of the things goes up there. One of them goes out to there. It splits again in there because, again, there are multiple whatevers. And he's like, look, if we could move your cable modem here today, but the thing is, it goes through 3 splitters to get to where this is, and your signal will degrade by like 80%. So he's like, we're going to, they're going to have someone come in. They're going to rewire it. They're going to do one out to the living room and then one back to here, and we'll put the cable modem in here. And he's like, you want to wait until it's all done properly. Well, guess who did this, Brad? If you had a guess, suspect, human being that did this little mess? Yeah, my dad.
Yep.
Yep. I don't know where you are, Dad, but I am coming for you.
I have learned from making fun of in-laws that it's not appropriate to make fun of other people's family members. Only they can make fun of them. My wife would be very proud to hear me say that.
He deserves it. In fact, I'll give you his phone number. You can call him and just say, you don't know me, but I know your son. And then he'll know what to expect. It's about the house, isn't it?
The only thing you should have done is kept all that coax cable and then give it to him for Christmas. Like, just wrap it up in a box.
By the way, okay, that's actually not a bad idea. I could like wrap the present in coaxial cable, make it like a little bow out of it or whatever. Yeah, I might actually do that. That's an excellent idea.
Yeah, that would be. It reminds me. I was watching a thing about David Letterman likes to perform what he calls anti-gifts, and he recently gave Conan O'Brien a horse, and it backfired because apparently Conan O'Brien's wife likes horses, and they're keeping it, and he's not getting his deposit back. But that's
because like a horse is a terrible gift, because who the heck could ever take care of such an animal, or would ever want to? Right? That's excellent. I'm going to buy your daughter a pony.
Oh God, please no. Sure. It's already been a rough week in my house, Paul, between the car and some other things going on in the house. Just another financial obligation, like a small petting zoo in my backyard, would just really.
But your daughter would be delighted. Delighted.
Oh gosh, Paul. Well, it is halftime. When we come back, what is it really halftime? We're gonna play with these things. But first, do you work in IT? Are you rolling out Windows 10, which a lot of companies are? A lot of companies are rolling out Windows 10. Specifically, I've heard from a few in the past couple months saying, hey, we're getting on the Windows 10 bandwagon. Are you replacing hardware? Are you doing all that stuff? Are you having to re-image your machines? If you are, and you're dreading that process, there is absolutely a better way. And it's not just the imaging process that SmartDeploy, these guys right back here, make better. They do driver injection as well. And that sounds kind of fancy, and it is because it's patented. But realistically, what it's doing is it's, again, making your life a little bit easier. And the best part is they use wizards as well, because we all know wizards are better than warlocks when it comes to, well, everything. But wizards to set everything up, it's going to make your life a little bit easier. And they've got a special offer for people watching this show, and it's for everybody. Go to smartdeploy.com/Thurrott, and you can grab some free licenses. And these don't expire, by the way. You can go try it out, make your life a little bit easier, make the process not a burden anymore. That's smartdeploy.com/Thurrott. Go check them out.
You know, I never thought of describing a wizard in relation to a warlock. That's pretty good. SmartDeploy does have wizards. That's true.
Yeah, wizards are better than warlocks.
I'm reviewing this product, by the way, right? So my review, I think, is going to go live on Monday. But yeah, this free offer is the real deal. It's like free. It's like free, forever free for 15 machines. It's pretty serious.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of serious, Paul, I want to get your opinion on. I was gonna, just rock this thing, but the power cord is stretched.
I know it's really short.
But you know what?
Yep.
This thing that we have been talking about since December of 2016 is finally here. We can touch it. It's real. Like,
yep. It's a little warm
stuff.
too. Gets warm.
Yeah. So the top portion for you, like right up here, like if you're going to choke this thing out because it's getting it wrong, right up.
Yep. It's like a thermos.
It is
of information.
Thermos. You're a thermos. Yeah. So what do you think?
Hey, Cortana, why is Brad so mean?
I'm sorry, but I can't help with that yet.
Nobody can. It's okay.
Turn yours up a little bit. It's a little hard to hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was so loud before.
Yeah.
I'll try it again.
When you said that, it actually activated mine, but it didn't respond. Maybe because it knows that I am, within striking distance. And
that's right. Hey, Brad, I see you have your hand on my power cord. Maybe I could direct deposit a little bit of money into your account. We'll keep this show going.
I will tell you, and this really isn't a surprise for anybody who knows Harman Kardon stuff, which I believe Samsung now owns them. I think they bought them. I mean, this thing is premium. Like, there's no question about it that this is a high-end piece of hardware, and it should be for 199 clamshells.
Yeah,
here's
it is
an
expensive.
Interesting little piece of innovation history. The flute and the sewing needle were both invented before the wheel.
There you go.
Let's see what mine has. Nothing. Very good, Cortana. Good job.
Sorry, I couldn't help with that, but I'm learning all the time.
No. Cortana, tell me a joke. See, nothing. What's going on here? It's not even working. Hey, Cortana, tell me a joke.
I wonder why
Do
the
monsters
baseball is
eat
getting bigger.
popcorn with their
That
fingers?
isn't me.
You activated
That
both
is
of them.
Yep. So I have headphones on, so mine won't hear what you say.
Oh, well, whatever you say, I can say better. But yeah, it's a nice piece of hardware. What we're doing here, and what is going to be the next 48 minutes of this show, is us just tapping the top of this thing. It tells you a random factoid, or a joke, or something else. But yeah, how are you liking yours, Paul?
I actually like it quite a bit. I mean, and I'm a little surprised by that. I don't know why she's piping up now. Let me turn that thing down. Like you said, it's a high quality piece of equipment. It's nice looking and obviously of premium materials. The speaker quality is fantastic. And actually, what's your have you compared the audio quality yet between that and the
these
new
two
Amazon
over
Echo? Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy right here sitting next to it is the Echo 2, or Echo second gen, I think is the proper name. And I can tell you the Invoke sounds a lot better. And that's not a big surprise, though. I mean, first off, well, this will be a fun comparison. So this thing is almost twice as tall. Twice as tall, and it'll cost twice as much. This thing's $100. This thing's $200. Right. This thing sounds better, but this thing's, to be honest, a little bit more functional. But yeah, I mean, the Harman Kardon sounds great. What I don't know is if this thing sounds better than a Sonos Play 1, which is the exact same price and now comes with the Amazon Echo built into it. So
yeah, we'll see. I mean, I've always thought that the Google Home sounded really good, and I premium users or whatever might have seen this before the Amazon Echo Dot that I use just to test this ecosystem. The sound quality of this thing is garbage, but then again, look at it's like, like a tiny little thing, like a hockey puck. But this is significantly better than any home assistant type thing I've ever heard. I mean, just the quality of it is very, very good. And I would say for basic tasks, all that stuff, tell me the weather, tell me a tip, tell me, set a reminder, listen to some music on Spotify, whatever. It's right there. It has some nice integration with the Microsoft ecosystem, specifically Office 365, Outlook.com calendar. Email's coming soon. It's not there today. And Skype. And you and I have made some Skype calls with this. And honestly, that stuff works pretty good. I have this thing in my home office right now because I've been testing it, but this is not the place to put this. You really want to put this in a kitchen or in some kind of a common space. I would say the big downside to this is Still lacking in a couple of areas. You and I have both noticed with Philip Hue in particular, it can't handle groups or rooms. It can handle individual lights only. So you can't kind of say, turn off the lights or turn off the lights in the living room or something like that. You have to say, turn off the living room lamp, turn off the living room, whatever. You know, you have to kind of go through it that way. Well, there actually, I guess there are a number of limitations. Also, it's US only for now. It's expensive, like you said. Comes in 2 colors. I think they look great, but it doesn't have that kind of customizable sleeve type thing like you have on the Echo and you also have on the Google Home. Yeah, I mean, I think that's most of it. It's surprisingly pretty good. I mean, I kind of went into this thinking like, what's taking so long? They're dead. This is never going to work. Oh, the other big one, I'm sorry, is multiple user support. That's actually the thing. So I could walk into your home and I could say, hey, see, set a meeting for Friday with Paul or whatever. And it would do that. And it would put it in your Outlook.com calendar. That's really unsophisticated for something that needs to be sophisticated. And it's not so much that voice recognition is like 100% secure or anything like that, but just, you know, you want to have multiple user support so your wife can walk up to it and have her list and her reminders and her alarms and calendars and whatever else. So that's kind of a disappointment. I think Microsoft has the technical chops to probably solve that problem. I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't yet. So maybe that will come. But as you and I have discussed, you know, this can be updated at any time because it's cloud-based, right? There's nothing in here that really has to happen for this to get better. I'm sure they can do firmware updates, obviously, but really the improvements come up in the cloud. So I would expect that stuff to be fixed over time.
Yeah, there's also a couple other things that should be noted about the IoT. I'm going to do a little demo here. Hopefully it's you can see it. So I'm going to, as Paul noted, you can't turn off groups of lights, which there's about 1,600 of them down here. But I do have a light bar up here. And I want to point out something that this thing's a little slow, to be honest. So if I go, hey, Cortana, turn off the light bar.
How are you doing? But what are you using?
Turning off light bar.
Jeez. And wait for it.
What
are you using? Yeah, but what's the technology? Like, what's the light bar? What's controlling this?
What's controlling the light bar is a little iHome smart plug. And that's connected into a third party or connected into the Cortana, and then it just controls it through that.
So iHome integrates with, or Cortana integrates with iHome. iHome is one of those.
Yeah, it's one of those platforms. What is it? It's not Wave. I can't even think of the name of it. Wink. It connects in through Wink.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay,
but
so it's not directly supported. Yeah, but do you think it has to do with that? In other words, I don't have a smart light in here, so I can't do this and see it. But I think there was a pause, though. If I say, hey, turn off the whatever light, there is, but it wasn't as bad as that. Like that, yours actually waited for a while and then responded to you. And then it kind of slowly did what you wanted.
And then here's why, because I'm going to do this with the Echo, and it's hooked up the exact same way. Okay. Alexa, turn on the light bar.
Okay.
So the light turned on before she answered, which I kind of think is the right way to do it. You know, interesting. It's still a little pause, but not as bad.
It's a little pause. I did some rough timing, and it's about 3.5 seconds for the Cortana. Don't stop. For the Cortana, and it's about 1.5 seconds for Alexa. Oh, crap.
Yeah. Okay. So it's over twice as slow.
Yeah. You know, I mean, here for the non-believers, it's, hey, Cortana, turn off the light bar.
Turning off light bar.
And then, Alexa, turn on the light bar.
Okay.
Yeah, it is about it's about double. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really seems like Cortana's thinking about it too. And I there's that weird pause. The light comes on, then she kind of says something, you know, and then it happens. That's interesting.
Yeah, but you know, that's the thing. Otherwise, though, first off, if you're like deep in the Microsoft world, if you've ever owned a Windows mobile device, you know, this is the thing for you. Like
great decision you can make. Recommended by the same people that recommended Windows Phone.
Yeah. My problem with this thing is for $199, there are better options out there. That's my sticking point. If they had this thing for like 50 bucks, obviously in different form factor, that'd be a different story. But right now, this is the only thing we've got. It's 200 bucks. It's kind of a hard recommendation right now, unless you really, really love Microsoft stuff. And then this is the speaker for you.
Well, there is an audience for that. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And yeah, I kind of wish there was a line. I guess it would be a line in or a line out. I guess a line in and a line out would be useful. Do you know if you can do stereo pairs with this kind of thing? Can you could you buy 2 of these and have like a stereo thing going? No,
I don't believe so. Now this device, which is again $100, does have a line out on it right back there, and does do stereo pairing. So actually, you can do more than that. I think you can do like up to like.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I don't know how this works in the Alexa environment, but with Google Home, you can have multiple Google Home devices. You can have multiple Chromecasts. You can use your voice to cast music to every single speaker in your house at the same time if you want. Obviously, you can't listen that way, but with the new Google Home Mini, you can affordably put a couple of those things around your house, and you could basically be anywhere in your home and give commands that will impact. Whatever, those lights or the speakers, if you want to play music or whatever it may be. Well, look, I have to give them some credit. This is nicer than it needs to be in many ways from a hardware perspective. And obviously that's Harman Kardon, but hopefully we'll see some more Cortana speakers. Hopefully we'll see this thing come down in price too. And and hopefully the whole environment, the whole ecosystem kind of improves. Maybe we'll talk to those guys again. And when did we talk to them last time? January? Yeah, it's been a while.
I mean, on the plus side, careful saying this, Spotify is better integrated into this device than it is to the Amazon one. So
yeah, how is that?
This is going to be, let me just mute them. That'll be easier. So with the Echo, I have a playlist called Starred, and that's just music that I've starred. So I have to say, Alexa, play Spotify starred playlist, and then it will play the correct playlist. With the Cortana, all I have to do is say, hey, Cortana, play starred playlist, and it works.
So. Okay, because you've configured Spotify as your default music service, and if you don't specify anything, you'll just use Spotify. Yep. Okay, that makes sense.
But you can't. I don't believe you can do on the Echo because there's the Amazon music service.
They want to push their own Amazon thing. Yeah. Okay. So by the way, even Google Home does this. You can specify Spotify as the default. It won't force you to use Google Play Music.
So
that's good.
To your point, what you're saying for a Gen 1 product, this was better than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of expecting it to be a little dicey, but granted, they did a good job. I just wish there were more cost-effective options out there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I can't be complimentary enough to the hardware. I mean, it is really high quality, and there are things like, I don't know what that new Alexa device is like, but the Google Home is nice, but it's a little, it's a little plastic. I don't know, shaving cream looking thing or whatever. This little Echo Dot is a little plastic piece of junk. But that's the point, right? It's inexpensive. It gets the job done. This is a really it's really nice. Like it's possible that Pro or Plus version of the Echo is maybe as good as this. I don't know. I've not seen it. But I'm impressed by the quality of this thing. And it's one of those things you kind of look at it, and every time you see, you're like, this is, it's nice. You can tell. It's like, it's not just expensive. It's actually nicely made.
Yep. Paul, one other thing I want to point out, actually, a friend of the show, Mahidi, pointed this out to me right before we went online. I didn't fully read their blog post because they sent us a bunch of stuff. Did you catch that they said there are now 148 million Cortana users? Did you catch that figure?
I did. In fact, I was quite interested in that because on the same day that I read that, Samsung made an announcement about, I got the wrong one, sorry. Samsung made an announcement about Bixby, right? So they're bringing their Bixby digital personal assistant. And they said that they have 10 million active users. Now that's kind of interesting, right? So Bixby, which is tied to one of the most popular smartphones that's available today, only has 10 million users. Whereas Cortana, which is pretty much relegated to Windows 10 PCs and I guess to the Xbox, 150 million. That's not too bad.
Yeah, I was trying to, well, and as we all know, the qualifier there is it's anybody who hits the Windows key and starts typing on their Windows 10 machine is going to qualify as a Cortana user. I was trying to look about when they announced the 145 million figure, which I see.
Oh, you knew that was 145. Interesting.
Yeah, well, no, Microsoft announced 145 million.
Yeah, from before, right?
Which that looked like
the
that
other
was
question
about
is.
July.
No, that's interesting. But the other question is, how many active users are there of Siri? You have to think that's probably hundreds of millions because there's probably several hundreds of millions of iPhones out in the world. And then how many users of Google Assistant, right? Probably, I don't even want to guess because Google Assistant's kind of a new thing, even though Google now is technically the same thing and, you know, blah, whatever. But it's certainly tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions. And then, of course, the Echo, which actually is probably single digit or tens of millions.
Yeah, we don't know. Those are numbers that they all like to keep close to their chest because people like us would compare and contrast them. And so we will probably never know, sadly. Anyways, folks, it is Friday. And on Friday, we like to take a look back at some of the comments. And this first comment I pulled out specifically so people will stop emailing me this exact same thing. But on Paul's hands-on with VR, so Paul and I both got our hands on it at the Surface Book 2 shindig. Mutual Core writes, he says, I guess mass market low quality VR is for phones. Good quality VR is for Windows Mixed Reality or Mixed Reality Ultra on PC.
And I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the maybe somebody knows off the top of the head who's listening. I don't know what the resolution is of Gear VR or of Daydream View or whatever, but I know that the resolution of Windows Mixed Reality is like 1440 by 1440 for the most part. And it is noticeably not that high resolution. Like it's noticeably not much better. In fact, the day that I first had a lot of time using it, the same day that you used it, I went back home that night and I tried Daydream View just to kind of do it as closely together. Now, of course, I have the thing in the house, so I can try it even more so. And I got to say, like, honestly, the quality, the visual quality of what you see on the phone isn't that far off from Windows Mixed Reality. It's just that the phone heats up like a comet and you can't keep it on your face for too long because it literally will probably explode.
Can you test that for us?
Yeah, I'll do it right now. But the PC offers other interaction things that are just going to be more sophisticated. Like, you know, these controllers are way more sophisticated. That little Apple TV remote looking thing that you get with Daydream View, for, you know, example, it works fine. It's like a little pointer or whatever, but these things offer pretty sophisticated gaming interactions. Like I was playing that Super Hot game today when my wife and daughter walked in and mocked me, which really did happen. And part of it was because I was like, you know, you're kind of dodging like the bullets that are coming at you in the game. It's pretty visceral. The other thing is like these PC systems, the one way they are more sophisticated is that you could, I didn't do it yet because I have this area here, but I have a much bigger area right over there. And you can configure it to use that area. So you can actually kind of move around in the area. You want to be careful with this, right? You want to actually make sure it's empty. And Superhot would take advantage of that. So you can kind of lunge forward in the game and you can move around a little bit. And that's something you wouldn't do with the phone thing. Like the phone thing is probably better for passive things like watching movies or those 3D immersive videos or whatever. You know, this one is a little bit better for games, but it's not very high res.
So I think the important thing to point out here is that I think we both agree that we're still in the very early days of this stuff. You know, the market is maturing. There's no real clear winner, however you want to define it. But the question becomes now is what's going to happen? Are smartphones going to scale up in power and resolution and capability faster than Microsoft can scale down its mixed reality VR experiences, right? Because you've got Microsoft, let's just say that, you know, they're kind of the higher end stuff. Well, they've got to hit mass market appeal, which they don't have. And then people are arguing, saying phones, hey, they're not as high res, give or take whatever your opinion is, but they can scale. They need to scale up to get to the super high end experiences. And so somebody's going to win. And is it going to be smartphones scaling up, or is it going to be mixed reality or mixed whatever they call it these days, mixed drinks scaling down?
So we can look to some things as a guide as to what's going to happen. For example, I've argued for a long time that iOS or Android could scale up to meet the requirements of a Windows user, a PC user. And both companies have tried to do that, right? The iPad Pro actually doesn't do it for me, but it could do it for some other people. And I think VR might work the same way. Like phone-based VR is going to be enough for some people. Some people are always going to demand the more powerful, and more sophisticated stuff you can do on a PC. The other problem though is this thing. Like, look how big this is. Like, this is way too big, way too bulky. What this needs to be is like glasses, essentially. Even if those kind of old lady sunglasses that if it was just something like that, VR would be very interesting. I don't care if it's phone or PC based. If you could just sit on a plane and watch a movie that way, right? And so if the person in front of you is jammed their seat back, so it's right in your face, and you could just kind of sit there and enjoy a movie that way, and not have to worry about where the laptop or the tablet is, or if you can fold the screen around and make it fit in a little tight spot you're in. If you could just sit there and enjoy a movie like that, I know that's only one kind of little scenario, but that would be really interesting. And no one would ever bring this on a plane. You'd have to be like, no one would ever do this. I guess you could, but who would ever do that?
Maybe you would when we go on a long plane ride.
Is that a recommendation?
I would give anything to have your wife tweet me a picture of you wearing that on an airplane.
I'll see what I can do.
Don't let my dreams be dreams, Paul. Make them happen.
I'm trying to figure out if this would even work. I don't know. It's a tough. That's like doubling the size of my carry-on just by itself.
The other comment this week comes from, and this is on Paul's post about the Samsung DeX, which is kind of like a dock thing. It allows you to do Samsung stuff on a bigger monitor. The reason I called this one out is it's just an actual user. Jay Holso, something along those lines, says, I have a DeX dock at work as a secondary computer on a separate network. Working in banking, we have our internal network very locked down. It's worked great for what I use for internet browsing, responding to some personal emails, and watching YouTube. Clearly working hard at work, as you know. He said, also, since we run in a Citrix environment, I found it useful to launch some of my Windows environment applications through Citrix to run when I don't want to keep everything on my main screen, blah, blah, blah. So there's, to be honest, just a real world user actually using the Samsung.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that DeX is useful in the same ways that Continuum was useful on Windows Phone, right? And maybe more so because at least on DeX you can run Chrome, like a real web browser, and you can access those Google apps or whatever. And so there's some use there. But the speculation I provided in that article is
Star Trek fact: Lieutenant Uhura's name means freedom in Swahili.
Really?
I was dozing off. Anyways, go ahead.
Is Linux? I'm sorry. Samsung is bringing Linux to DeX as an app, right? So it's kind of like I guess it's an Android app that when you're running in DeX mode or whatever is full screen, etc. Microsoft's bringing Windows 10 to ARM. Android phones run on ARM. Microsoft has Continuum. They saw that people who did use it really liked it. Connect the dots. You never know. I've always thought that the Achilles heel of Continuum was that you had a phone that had no apps, so it was terrible as a phone, and then you ran it full screen, and then you had these full screen UWP apps, which were also terrible. So it's like a good idea, but the wrong platform. So what if you could run real Windows on this thing that also ran Android apps when you were a phone, right? It solves both of the problems. So it's interesting. We know Microsoft doesn't have a pure phone play anymore. They have partnered with Samsung in the past, by the way. Samsung and Microsoft both have this enemy called Apple. What do you think? It's possible. I'm just, to be clear, I'm speculating, but I think it's a great idea.
Dang it.
Russia has a larger surface area than Pluto.
Wow. Russia has a larger surface area than Pluto.
Speak, woman. Mine's not doing anything. It's just making a little pulsating thing and a sound.
Is this AI just imitating you on a usual day, not doing anything?
Now, but I'm learning.
Maybe it's because I'm talking. Let me be quiet and do it.
Try.
Useless. I don't know why it's not working. That's very strange.
Hummingbirds are the only birds that can fly backwards.
Oh, I like that one. Wait, am I supposed to do this? No, that's the volume. No? Oh, there it is. I wasn't tickling her right.
Liechtenstein has only 37,000 inhabitants.
I was touching it wrong, Brad.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, let's keep this one suitable for work. I'll just stop touching the thing there.
What else you got going on? Anything else this weekend, Paul?
Nope. So, just the usual stuff, you know. Just 2 more hours of meetings, and then I'm going to run outside into the corn like I've been dreaming of doing.
Maybe you could make some corn whiskey while you're there.
There is a market for that here for sure.
Alrighty. Jesus. Well, everybody, that's it for today. Today's show was brought to you by SmartDeploy. That's hardware-independent imaging software for 50 to 50,000 users. You can check that out at smartdeploy.com/Thurrott. And as always, we do this every day of the week, Monday through Friday, and you can find that on Thurrott.com. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch you back here next time.